Well, hello everybody. Dr. Kim Ballard here, and I am presenting this for the Elementary Physical Education Conference. I'm so excited to present with them. This will be for elementary teachers. However, it can be used for all health and physical educators. There will be some things here for higher ed, but I don't want to classify it for anybody because we can all use it in different ways. While I might use it for different grade levels, you need to think about it as how you can use it for what you do at your grade level. So don't think about what I'm doing at the different levels that I'm thinking about. Think about what you do and how you can use it and tone it up or down, because I don't think it's something that you have to use by grade level. It's just how do you use it in what manner, and then how would you use it for yourself. So let me get off of here and let's get started. So by the end of this, I hope that you'll be able to explain what AI is and how it can support your teaching and learning. I like to try to do that appropriately with my kids, and I try to explain to them what this actually is, what AI, and how it can help you. It's not for writing your papers, but how can it really actually help you? It's not for looking up your answers. Google does that all the time. It's nothing that new that chat hadn't been able to do. So it's nothing new to that aspect. And so how is AI different, and how can it actually help us? Why is business turning to it? Why are people, using it for an assistant and those kinds of things? They're not using it to write something up for them. So let's see what's different about it. And how do we use AI to develop the standards aligned lessons for ourselves? A lot of teachers are already using it that way. Let's make sure we're using it in a way that's appropriate, in a way that we can make sure that they're aligned with our national standards and or our school district standards and or our outcomes or indicators, whatever it is that we might be doing. Are we using it for differentiated instruction as well? Are we looking at it for ELL and those that may be in any kind of wheelchair or other disability kinds of actions? Do we have those placed in there as well? I uploaded some of those kinds of options into my chat so that it would have some things to select from and not just make it up itself. I had some of those that were evidence-based to work with different language speaking students and all in different tiers. And then also those for various disabilities that I had worked on during my dissertation that all stand today. So those were things I added in to make sure that I had them in the same space. That gave me a guide rail for where my students can work. They work within these what I call guardrails, kind of like the bowling. You put the guardrails up and they stay within, the ball stays within the guardrails. In my chat, students can't go outside of those guardrails. So the chat doesn't go out into the wide world web unless there's something that I don't have that identified for. So I keep it where it's aligned for that. That you'll be able to create your own student coach and tutors. I hope that we get to that by the end. You'll be able to share tools with your students, like using how they use links and QR codes, identifying responsibility and ethical uses of AI in schools, because a lot of people are scared of it. And I don't want us to be scared. I want us to figure out, how do we partake in it? I was scared. I wasn't sure how to use it. And I by far am no expert. I am not an expert by far. That is not what my doctor stands for. I promise. It is. But I am one of those that want to get out there and want to learn more. I'm a lifelong learner, like many of you. That's why you're here. That's why you're looking for staff development. That's why we're looking for each other to lean on. It's how we worked in COVID. It's how we're going to work with technology. And that's what we do. That's what we do as physical and health educators. Lean on each other. We always have, and we always will. So some of you will take this stuff and go make it better and better. And some of you will say, oh, I've already done this. And you're going to show me new things. And I hope that's how it works, because I want to see what you're doing as well. So some key points that we need to know are students are already using AI. There's many, many, many forms of AI. So it's not just chat. There's all kinds of different things that are AI that we're not really, usually thinking about. When kids use Grammarly, they've been using AI, right? We've been using Google for a long time, right? So artificial intelligence has been around for years. It's just we haven't considered it as such, and so it's now finding its way into education. And so it's like I say, some people are scared, and some students are using it incorrectly. Some students are using it to cheat or look up answers. It's become a problem with some of the online courses, homework, and things like that. It's certainly that way here at Campbell as well. So, what I want to make sure is that it's not AI cannot replace us as teachers. Sorry, I had to close my door. It won't replace us as teachers. It's just not going to. There's things that it can't do that we can. Nothing will ever replace the relationships that we build with our students, and it's just not going to happen. Knowing your students' names, knowing and being able to communicate with them, understand them, give them someone to talk to, person to person, there's just nothing like it, and they really need that today. Well, yes, they are using AI as a friend and some of those things, but we're going to teach that. That's a new piece we teach in our health classes. That's a new piece we teach when we're talking about technology. It's a new piece we talk about when we're teaching relationships and communication skills, right? So those are things that we add now that we need to make sure we're teaching. How do we know what these AI things can do, and why do we turn to them and not talk to someone else? So those are things I think, we'd really have to hit as key points. We don't get into it today, but there are things that we need to really think about and how we integrate our teaching lessons into acceptance of AI in our life. And so today's goal is to give you some confidence, not mastery. You're not going to be able to figure everything out, but just to give you a little confidence and maybe some ideas of some things. And hopefully you'll help give me some after this and in the chat as well. So I hope you leave today knowing how to create a lesson, maybe an assessment, and one AI coach that you'll know enough to begin what's what. So what is AI? I use it as a brainstorming partner. I'll ask questions. It gives me something back. I use it as a teaching assistant. I'm going to show you how I do that as a tutor or a coach, sometimes a first draft creator for me. I have used it quite a bit. I'm not the best writer. And so I'll tell it what I want, and it helps tell me what to do. I'll write a letter or a response to a student, and it'll tell me, whoa, that's too emotional. Here's what we need to say. Take the emotion out of it, and blah, blah, blah. And it is most often correct. Yes, it helps me write some reference letters. And what I do, though, is have a form for students to fill out and remind me of the grades, remind me of the project, remind me of some things that were in class, and then I'll go by myself and remember some things. Then because sometimes students are 3 or 4 years out, and I go by that list and I add those things into my words of myself that I remember from the student. And I put that all into chat and say, let's form a letter of so many words or one page or whatever it might be. Here are the most critical pieces. And it helps me write the letter in a beautiful form, which I wouldn't have been able to create myself. I'm just not that good of a writer. So it becomes a first draft creator that I can go back then and change words because it doesn't always get it correct. That's one thing we always have to know is it's not always correct, right? And it's not a replacement for us. It's not to teach kids everything. It doesn't know everything. And it's not a replacement of our professional judgment. One thing I talk to kids about, my students, is I just talk to them, think of it as a big box. It's a big computer box, and there's just information thrown into it, right? It's not a person. It's not a thing. It can't think. It's all, it's all about probability, right? And what's going to come up are the things that are most probable, the correlations of things that are going to happen next, right? How often does this word appear to this word, and which words are going to come up the most with each other, right? It's just all about probability. And it doesn't mean anything as far as it knows your feelings. It doesn't know that. It knows where words come up the most. It knows how to connect to different words and make sentences. It doesn't always make sentences correct necessarily, except by what grammar goes by. It doesn't know that it's saying a sentence about something necessarily. So if you think about that and just think about, well, is every paper in the world in there? Does it know everything? No, it doesn't. So you can't always get a full, view of everything in there, right? And so I'll have them do a few things and maybe have a couple of tests with them to, have them search some things and see what they come up with. And some things I intentionally have them come up with that'll be, really outrageous. And, if you didn't know that, how would you do? And some things about how they might feel about something. And that always gets them a couple of times. They're like, wow, I can't believe it said that. And I've got a page of things I read to them all the time about how there are these students that talk to it as a person. And so those are things that I also want to make sure they are aware of, is that they're people that take this too far, and that what they need to be aware of, what AI really is and what it's not. So now that we got that out of the way, let's work with one as a teacher. So how do you know which one is the one for you, right? There are so many of them. There's some that cost and some that don't. There's some that work better as lesson plans and some that work better as assessments. And so let's just take a look at what we have. I put together just a few. There are so many different ones you can choose from. These are just a few of the ones that I got that are most used. There's obviously lots of better ones, lots of good ones. This is just, I couldn't write them all. I don't have time to go pick up all of them, but they all have free versions, most of them. And so they all have limits. They all want to charge at a certain point. So what happens with chat when you get a few hours in, and you can continue a little bit later on. Sometimes it's an hour, depends on how much you use, how much time that you used, or advanced features that you use. When advanced features are those things where it's you're analyzing something, that's an advanced feature. If it's just summarizing something or writing something, that's more limited messages. So that might be what, depends on how much time that it takes and how much time that you have to wait for it to come back you can use it some more. Gemini, same thing. It varies by how much activity you do, and it usually resets pretty automatic. It'll tell you usually when to come back. Copilot, same thing. Claude, same thing. And Perplexity, same thing. Usually has basic things that tell you when to wait and how to wait, how long you have to wait. Claude usually has a daily message limit, so it'll tell you have to come back the next day. Now, here's the trick. You don't need to buy one of these. You don't need to upgrade or anything, especially for this workshop or at any other time, unless you are using it as much as like I am probably. But until you get really, really, into using it a lot, don't purchase one. Here's the trick. Go to ChatGPT, use what you want, use till it gets to the limit. When it gets to the limit, carry that information over to Gemini, go into Gemini, use it till that limit comes up, then go to Copilot or to Claude or to, any of the other ones, and just use it that way and carry it over till you get all you need. Okay. That's the key, is just to use the free ones, and hopefully you're not using them all that much. You shouldn't be. It won't do you shouldn't have it doing everything in your life for you, right? But just helping you to think about how it can help you better and how it can make life a little easier for you. Can it develop a handout for you? Can it develop a lab for you right quick? Can it create some directions? For me, sometimes it's creating some directions that I haven't been able to get clearly across to my students. Right. And so sometimes that's what it'll have to do for me. So for this workshop, it's free. Don't worry about it. Is it lesson planning? Yes, it's free. You can use it for assessments. Yes, free. And for most teachers getting started, yes, use the free ones. Right. And if you occasionally hit that limit, go to the next one. So that's what we'll need. And that's what I say for this one. Don't go and try to purchase something right now. All right. So what I want you to do, though, is they all do have an account. They all do have accounts. Okay. So if you will, go over to, just have you stop for a minute from the webinar, go and find and Google one of the accounts that I just gave you. I'm gonna go back to it and find a ChatGPT or a Gemini or a Copilot or a Claude or Perplexity and set yourself up an account. Okay. So I'm gonna stop the video and let you go do that as we move forward. Stop the video and set up your account. When you're ready, come back. Now that you're back and you have it set up, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go in and say, create a PE activity. That's it. Create a PE activity or a health activity, whatever you want to do, just something that simple. All right, ready, go. They ask you some questions probably, and you'll give it some answers. See what it comes up with. And so that's a prompt. That's what we call a prompt. Okay, but what's important is the secret to getting what you want is to set up the prompt. The prompt is the most important thing. So in this section, you got to think about the role plus the task plus the audience plus constraints and the format. When you give it all of those things, then you get the most clear directions. You get back what you want. Otherwise, you're going to go back and forth, just like you will on that prompt you have right now of create an activity. Well, what kind of activity? What grade level are you on? Are you outside or inside? What's the area you in? What kind of sports are in popular? What grade? What level? Are you doing striking or what are you doing? Right? So you didn't give it any kind of clarification whatsoever. So it just throws something out there to you. And if you just go with what it is, it's not going to make sense in class. It's not on any kind of consistency level. It's not on, may not even be on grade level. It may not be part of standards. It may do something wrong. We don't know, right? Because we don't have that clarification. So it works best with clear directions. What is the role of that chat first, right? And then what is the task? What is it you want them to do? And what is the audience? How much time do they have? What are some constraints that you might have? Or what kind of students might you have in the class that you need to have? What do you want it to include or not include, right? Those kinds of things. So AI, like I say, AI works best when you have something that's clear. So something to say, here's a clearer one, okay? I teach fourth grade physical education, right? So your role is to create a PE lesson where I teach fourth grade physical education. I have 30 minutes a lesson, and we're teaching underhand throwing for about 25 students. We have bean bags. Please include the warm-up, skill development, activities, a game, assessment, and some closure. Now, I'm going to pause the video here, and I want you to put that prompt in versus the other one and see what you come up with. Go. When you're done, put the video back on. I'm assuming those of you have stopped it are back now. And then for something I want you to do outside of the video is write a prompt for a lesson that you think you might do next week. Play with it. Play around, let it, ask what it'll do. If it's not giving you what you want, tell it to give you different things. Say, give me a different warm up. That's not getting the body parts that we need warmed up the most. Or I like something more active, or give me something different, right? You can even say, have it to give me an exit ticket, and it'll do that. Now, how do I keep it safe? How do I make sure that it's within the standards and stuff? Because if I say give me an activity, it can pull from anything all over the world, right? Remember I talked about the guardrails, like a bowling alley and the guardrails up, right? So what I do is once I get my chat up, I pull in like anything that I want it to stay within. So for this, I'm going to drag in files like Shape America's national standards or my state standards, my North Carolina standards. Or you may have local standards or outcomes or anything that you want to use that are relevant for what you're going to teach and what it needs to know. Because you can't just tell it to give me some motions that it's not, that it might give you some motions, but it's going to take it from a book somewhere. Or then, there's different theories out there. There's different kinds of movement developments out there. So which ones do you want it to go by? What do you want it to follow? Right? In my motor learning class, for example, I lock it in to the book that I'm teaching from. Yes, there's many different ways of doing other things, but I lock it in to it can't go outside the book that I'm using unless I give it a specific author and a lab that I want them to go use, that to look from. So that's how I use variations. But for this activity, you might want to pull in, you go to the Shape America National Standards, and you get on the exact web page where the standards are. You can't just say go to Shape America and pull them, right? Go to where they are, go to where the indicators are listed, and you want to put that website in and tell it you want the standards and the indicators as a primary resource. Okay, you can do that now and hold, or you can continue. Then you'll go to your state standards if you want to put those in, and you would do the same thing, or you can copy and paste, or you can drag a PDF in it. Just drag it in there. See, there's a plus sign on your chat, so do the plus and add it in there. And then you tell it you only use these standards and lessons that are here. Okay, and this assures that what you get with your lessons will only come from what you have, rather than being uploaded from somewhere else. Okay. Big thing to know is you can just upload them very easily. Just sliding those in, they just drag into the prompt itself, or drag into the message box like you're typing into. Drag it in there and upload it, and chat just sucks it right up and puts it in its box, and it's ready to go. So I want you to try that. Come back when you're ready. Now with this prompt, after what you would state now, now that you have those in there, I would use something to say, using the uploaded Shape America standards, create a grade 3 lesson aligned with standard 1 to give it some specificness, right? Using the uploaded standards, create a student-friendly learning targets, whatever that learning target might be. Using the uploaded standards, create a formative assessment, or with it, create a standards aligned lesson. So put one of those things in, pause the video, and see what you come up with. Continue to ask it questions, continue to play, and come back when you're done, and the video will continue. Section 5, here are some practical ways where we can create the lesson plans. Create a 30-minute lesson on dribbling for grade 4. Create 5 tag games that can teach our locomotor skills. Create simple rubrics as well. Create some healthy snacks for fourth graders. Create emergency plans with no equipment. Create a source that you can use this week. So that would be something I would challenge you to do as you look at a lesson plan that you might use this week. Also look at a resource that you might be able to use as well to create something that you can use. What is a resource? Well, maybe you create a substitute plan that's going to fit into what your other assignments are that week. Put in your lessons for the week and then say, I need one substitute day for this. It needs to be, moderated for a substitute that doesn't know much about physical education. It needs to be easy enough with very little equipment and however, like restricted of monitoring you want them to do, how well you want to set up the area so that students are most likely to behave and not have a lot of craziness going on. So you can set it up to do that, and it'll create that lesson for a substitute as well that week. So think about that. If it's something quick that comes up and you didn't know that morning you got sick and you need to create something, there's an easy way to do that. So pause this video and see if you can create an emergency lesson with no equipment or something that comes up that you might need this week. After you come back, the video will continue. Now we want to make sure, as I said, that we're including differentiation and inclusion. So you might want to modify, you ask for the prompt to include the modification for students with limited mobility, English language learners, even for advanced students, by the way. You can ask it something specific. Create visual cues for teaching skipping. Create or have an activity with students with autism or whatever it might be. And so remember, I uploaded in the beginning, I told you I uploaded a document that had for students with various disabilities and that students that had for English language learners, different prompts. You can get that from your ELL teachers, or you can get it from probably your central office. And if you can't, you can get it from DPI, I'm sure. That's where I got them. And if nothing else, you can call me or email me and I'll send you mine. But there's a lot of different ways that you can work within physical education to make these things help. So there's some differentiation and inclusion things you can do. So I want you to try that next as well. While you do that, stop the video and come back. And we're going to start creating our tutors. So this is just a modification or a challenge of one of the activities that you might be doing, modifying one of your current lessons that you may be with some students with language differences, or maybe having it create some visual cues for you, whatever it is you might need. So you can pause and do that, or we'll move on. So AI doesn't have to give you the answers, and we don't want it to give them the answers, right? You want them to have coaches. And so you want them to guide students through thinking. So one of the things that I might say is I want them to have a fit coach. Maybe we're working on the fit principle, right? So I want to have, I'm not able to teach them but 1 or 2 days a week. So I need them to have something else to help me outside of class. And so the prompt is I've got to tell the chat, I've got to tell my person or my train of who's going to be working with it in the chat, my thread, you are now a fitness coach and you're helping elementary students till the grade level usually create their own fitness plans using the fit principle. And then go on, and you are not allowed to create the plan for students. You can ask one question at a time. You use simple language. You help students think about the FITT. You encourage students to make their own decisions. You never complete the assignment for them, and you guide them through reflective thinking and planning. So you want them to be able to demonstrate what they're doing, right? Talk them through it. So they can't say, create my fitness design for me, right? They can put their data in, and what's going to happen is it's going to ask questions. So it might say something to the effect of, well, what's your fitness goal? And you'll put your goal in, or Sue, and it'll say, well, let's define your goal or make it stronger, or it'll help you write your SMART goal better. And then, okay, how many days can you be active? Okay, doing that. What kind of things around you do you have? What do you like to do? How can you be more active? Do you have access to all those kinds of things? It'll ask you those questions that students should be thinking through. So it challenges them to think. It doesn't tell them what to do. It makes them, like I always call it, to critically think about the things that they need to be doing. Okay. And then at the end, it walks them through and actually puts them together in a form. It'll help you set the form up and have them be able to print that form. And they've used AI to do it. That's not the problem. The problem is you set it up so that this tutor helps them walk through it, because you can't walk through each one with each student, right? So you set it up how you want to, and AI walks through it with them. You just tell it can't create it for them. It can tell them when they're correct or when they're close, or you think that's a good job, those kinds of things. And we'll go ahead and put that down. Let's do this, and however you want them to answer, something similar to how you would react as a teacher. So that was just one example of how you could do this. I did this for my motor learning class at the university level. And so I would have them, I set it up exactly like what we're talking about here. And I had my book that we were using and my notes. I put in my PowerPoints every week. I had the labs that we used. I put those in there. It knew the book, and I always tell it which page numbers or chapters we were in that week. It was only allowed to use that book, like I said. And so students knew what the concepts were and the things that we were covering in class and what we weren't, and what they were responsible for outside of class. They could ask questions. And the good thing about what my chat would do is it would go to the level that they are on. What level of understanding did they have about that concept? Was it a high level? Then it would ask higher level questions. Was it a lower level? Then it would ask lower level questions, but try to build that information to get to a higher level of questioning. So it's not a standard question and answer, kind of a yes, no mapping. It's not do this, do that. It's not a yes or no. It's an individualized questioning. It comes to you by where you are on the map, where you are in your understanding, and it guides each individual person from where you are to where you need to be. It answers each individual person. So that was the best part of using it in my motor learning class. They could ask their individual questions. They got individual answers to guide them in their own personal way to understand concepts and be able to come to the test in a better way, or come to the class in a better way. Now, I was just trying it out. The students said that they did like it, that it helped them a little bit, and that they felt like, they could trust it. If they didn't understand something, they just went to it and said, I didn't understand what Dr. Ballard was talking about in chapter so-and-so. This concept, could you explain it a little more? And it would go in and talk about it a little more and, say, well, what did Dr. Ballard say? Or how did you see it? And then it'll say, and no, well, it really is sort of this way, and go back in. It wouldn't say I was wrong, but it would say, here's how you might have seen it. Here's how you should see it. Something to that effect. So it was really neat. It's really good to help the kids, especially if you don't see them all the time. I saw these kids 2 days a week, and we were covering lots of chapters, and it was really, really difficult sometimes to get everything and include the labs, which I needed to do in person with them. So yeah, it was something I'm going to continue to do, and I carried over into my sport management class and how we could use it in sport management as administrators. We tried a few things in there, which really worked out, pretty well. And some of my health and PE one, we did some of this lesson planning kind of things. And in my health and PE lessons, we even developed into how they could use these lessons to help create praxis PE questions and also some EdTPA writings. So I'm going to have some information on that as well. So there's so much you can do if you just kind of get in it and play with it a little bit. So some of the additional ideas that you can do is set up, coaching. So if you need somebody to coach you through increasing your time for a mile, or set up coaching for anything, whatever it might be. What about sportsmanship? Is there a way that you want to guide students or help them think about a way through developing more sportsmanship? And maybe you wanted to give them some scenarios. Say, here's a scenario, and you give them one per week, and it comes up with them, and it has like 3 or 4 questions it has to answer, or it has to give a scenario, it has to give some kind of response back. You get to check those responses and give it back to them with comments. They can turn it in, or they can turn it in on a Google form. You can set it up on a Google form where they turn it right in, however you want to do it. So these can be set up in any kind of fashion. These can be set up from a chat. You can have nutrition coaches or healthy habits. What are your habits? Are you weighing, or well, I don't want them to weigh all the time, but are you eating properly? What are you doing? Or is your social life well? Is your healthy? Are you staying active? And how's your wealth? How's your health? How's your everything? How's your spiritual life? How are all the things that you need to be doing? Or maybe you just need to be reflecting on things. And I say I'm doing something and I'm not doing it very well. So let's learn how to reflect. Kids don't know how to do that. Let's teach them how to reflect. And a reflection coach is really good because they have to go back and it asks them questions about reflection at the end of the day, and they have to respond to it, and then you can check it. And right or wrong, whatever those reflections are, they're correct in a way that, as long as they're honest with you, that's how I treat them, to be as honest as they can, so that they'll not just do it to get it over with, but hopefully tell me the truth. And then I respond to them as I can. Or just a walking program. However, I might want to do that. So in this section, here's what I would write. You're a lesson builder chat, a professional planning assistant that helps the teacher candidates. This is my higher ed. Design standard aligned skills-based assessments for health and physical education lessons as aligned to our North Carolina unpacking standards. That's what we had at the time. All planning must be outcome first and developmentally appropriate. You must assess. If the lesson length is 20 minutes or less, reduce the instructional segments and proportion and simplify the performance task complexity. Why did I do that? Well, the reason I did that was because some of our students may have wanted to have, our classroom teachers might have wanted to use it for physical activity or some kind of breaks, movement breaks in the classroom, or they might be working with other kids or other teachers. So I wanted to have a choice. They could either do like PE programs, or they could do a recess, or they could do just a break in class, a movement break in class, activity breaks of some sort. They could use it for a variety of different things. So it's 2-pronged. So you have 2 choices when you get into that, when you get into the video. I'm going to have this video available for you. There'll be a link at the bottom, and you'll be able to get into it. Attached with this workshop, you'll also have a link to the videos yourself that'll walk you through step by step exactly how to set up your own, and it'll show you exactly how to go through it. For example, when you get the link, I'll set up the link. There's the link at the bottom. I'll tell you how to set this up first, how to set up this link here. It has everything in it I want it to do. All my kids go to that exact link. They have to go to that chat link. They can't go anywhere else because this is where I built in all this information. So when I want them to do this kind of lesson and looking at praxis and actually EdTPA and National Board Certified, you could use this because I have it set where you can use any of those. National Board Certified is right along the lines with EdTPA. So you have to, as soon as you go in, it'll say, hey, how can I help you? What is the mode, grade, topic, primary skill, length, constraints, and learner needs, or may ask you a couple other things, right? So what do you need? An example might be, okay, I'm in PE or I'm in health, what grade I am, what topic I'm going to be on. What's the primary skill? We're going to be working with implements today. And the length is 30 minutes. I have small class sizes, but large class sizes, but really small space. I have a couple of ELL students and one wheelchair. I was just putting these in there, and then you would go and add it to the website. So I'll click on the website. It's not going to probably pull me up right at this second, but just to show you what it is. So it has the two choices here, right? And then I'm going to pull the lesson up, and it's there gives me my choice. And so I didn't put in like a clarifying objective, right? So once you provide these details, like I have to go in and put like these details, whatever that is. So I'm going to do PE. I'm going to do maybe 5th grade. I'm going to do striking. I think I said with implement 30 minutes, small room, large class, 2 ELL, 1 wheelchair, and let's see what that pulls us up to. All right, so now he's thinking, but I didn't still give it like what my clarifying objective will be. So he says, okay, here, let's look for it. All right, let's see. Let me put this bigger. Let's see what, I want to make sure just before let me see, stop sharing and make sure that I'm sharing the right space still. This thing gets me sometimes when I make sure, see, it's not, oh yeah, it is. It's sharing the right thing. Okay, just making sure. So to make sure it goes and tells us what the best objective is, right? So here's your different objectives that it's going to say. Here's one you can use. Here's a clarifying objective. Here's a clarifying objective you could use, but really you can do 1, 2, or 3, right? He says, given your constraints, though, maybe option 1 would be the best one. So which one do you want to use? Okay, I'll go with your recommendation. I'm going to use number 1. So that's going to be my clarifying objective. And here we go. Here's the snapshot. Here's what the lesson's going to be. Here's the target that we're going to use. Here's the performance task, what we're going to do, how many attempts, etc. And it just goes through. It gives you the skill criteria. It'll give you a rubric. It'll give you an instructional plan of how to do things. It'll give you a mini lesson to go over. And of course, you add to all these. You don't have to go by it by the book, right? You add to these. It gives you a framework. Then you'll go through the steps. There's the modeling, and there's the guided practice. And then there's the independent practice, right? And then you got your closure. And then you have some academic language, because now remember, I'm going into the EdTPA and into Praxis information. So you may not, as teachers, need some of this part, and that's okay. But here's the differentiation, right? You may have some visual cue cards. You may have some model before speaking things, especially for some kids, right? Or making sure they're at the front of the line, right? Increase target distance slightly for some kids because maybe they're sights or what it might be. So being attentive to those things and making sure that you are meeting those things would be important. It's just a little bit of something to think about. What materials you might need, what extra things you might need because of those differentiations, and then some professional steps that you might want to make sure of and confirm that you have. Checking their accommodations and making sure that you are meeting those is an extremely important one. Making sure that you are going over those safety rules, especially with students that may not understand them, and then reflection afterwards, right? So if you want to change something, you can have it to change for the next time, however you want or whatnot. But just as a quick piece, let me say, I'm going to say for national boards, because I could do this for the EdTPA, I need to use this class as a write-up for my boards. Can you help me? I can help you turn this into a national board write-up. Okay, so yes, this will work well for national boards, blah, blah, blah. Okay, and it talks about the differentiation, the standards-based evidence, teaching, practice, and learning environment. And so it goes through, here's a conventional one. It talks about it. It'll give you some rationale, your learning goals and rationale, your knowledge of the students and what you did. Notice it was developed this way. It had these things in here for you to do if you did it. Your instructional design talks about all of that. That's in your lesson. Now, if you actually created and did this lesson yourself, you would have all this on tape. But if you wanted to just do this first and see what all it would give you, then you would be able to do that too, and then go do the lesson and make sure you covered everything. Here's your assessments, and then your differentiation and equity, your analysis of learning, and your reflective steps. And so here's your evidence that you could collect, some important reminders of things, and ways to write it, things to make sure you say, or keep words that you need in, etc. So you can also write, provide me a practice prompt. Okay, there you go. So now I'll give you something that would be like a prompt you would see. And now you can begin writing and practicing. And you can also upload it. Will you score it for me? Yes, upload it and I'll score it. I'll give you feedback on these things. Now, is it 100% correct? I would not count on it, right? It's going to give you what it thinks and based on what it wrote and what it did. Did it forget some things? It could have. It doesn't mean you're going to make an A. It could have forgot things. It's going to base its grade on what it covered in this one lesson, not overall. Okay. So if it's not in this lesson, you're not going to get credit for it specifically. Right. So you got to think about, things like that. So that is, that's my piece on the, see how I get out this part. That's my piece on the internet and how that will work for this. So you put those in and it pulls up all these lessons you can do. And then there's so many pieces afterwards that you can use those things to do and to tell you. You can have it change you all kinds of different ways. And then finally, just making sure that we use it ethically, that we verify that information for our students, that we protect our student privacy, that we do not put student names and student numbers or ethnicities or any of those kinds of things into our databases here. Even though it's fairly safe, still don't put student names. I'll put something, generic in there. If I do, I use scenarios that are generic to give my students something to work with, that kind of thing. And I'll ask it to create those scenarios a lot of the times. Follow your district policies. What are your policies around using AI? Many districts and many schools are developing those policies. So what are yours? What can you do and what can you not do? And use your judgment. Always use your judgment as what comes first. Okay. So it should support their learning, not replace it. And what I'm trying to do, and hopefully what you saw a little bit today, was how it can help you as a teacher, and then how you can create something that can help them that saves you some time. Right? Creating those tutors or coaches can help save you some time, but can also be something that they can count on outside of when they can't get you a question. And often kids won't want to ask a question in class. They might be able to get it, ask it, outside of class, for example. So before next week, not that I'm going to check on you, but create a lesson, create an assessment, create a differentiated activity, and maybe a coach. Okay. And then what worked and what surprised you, and, look at some of those things. What saved you time? What will you use again? And listen, you're going to mess up. Just count on it. You're going to mess up. You're going to not know what to put in, and who cares? Nobody's looking. Nobody keeps it. It doesn't matter. So just put things in, ask it questions. There's not a stupid question. I asked it so many questions I didn't know what to do. And I asked it so many things and it didn't know what I was talking about, and I didn't ask it clearly. So I had to go back and keep asking and asking until we got to the right prompt. That's how I learned how to write prompts. So don't feel bad. Just go in and mess with it, but think about the things that you can use it to help you work better, smarter, faster, that can help students, that you can give to them, that can work on things outside of your time so that you can do other things with them in class that will continue to help them. So like I said, I've used it for Praxis and EdTPA. I've set up the assistants in my Q&A with the books, and I try to teach them how to use it, and use it smart. So let's keep looking at the handouts that I've got for you. There's a playlist that I'm putting together of just AI on YouTube. It's at this YouTube site. I put it on Bitly so it'd be easier to just remember. And I've only got one or two up there right now, but they're just like I showed you in this demonstration, how I go through and click on things and write in, and you can see what I type in, you can see what it answers, and where I mess up. I showed you some of where I messed up, and I didn't ask the right thing, or it didn't come out the right way. So you can see that as well. And I'm going to continue to put some things up there here and there and go in and check them. And please go back and see what other things I put up as often as you can. And I appreciate your time. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you sharing. And please contact me any chance you can. And let's get together sometime, okay? Thank you. And I hope to see you soon on the road or in a FaceTime or some kind of chat or on a conference near you or near me. And let's keep sharing and keep working together. Thank you.